Okay, welcome everyone to tonight's intimate little discussion about dating with dignity. My name is Rachel Burnham. I am the owner, I guess you'd say, of Date Great, which is a dating coaching practice that I began myself. And I'm going to get into a little bit about how I got into all of this. So, very nice to see all of you. If anyone wants to keep their cameras on, it's always great to talk to real life people. If not, I understand. So, I guess we'll just jump in and get started. So, we're going to have a little bit of a background story, a little bit of a talk of, some dating ideas, and then we're going to open up the floor for Q&A for anyone who has any questions. Some people submitted questions in advance. Feel free to put questions in the chat box. You can put it down anonymously. That's fine. You can send it to Esther or myself, and let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start a little bit with my own personal story just to give you some background in how I got into all this to begin with. So I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut. I grew up FFB. My father was a Rav out of town. And because there were no available high schools in the area, I ended up boarding in New York for high school. And, started dating at 19, like any other, girl home from seminary. And there was nothing ostensibly, big that stood out on my resume that said, like, oh my gosh, this girl's not going to get married. My parents were happily married. My family had a good name. I don't know. I was a solid frum girl with lots of friends.
Hello.
I don't know, was a size 2, nothing that you would say like, oh my gosh, this is why she's single. And yet, even though I dated and dated and dated and dated and dated, it seemed like it just was not happening for me. It was happening for a lot of my siblings. Most of my siblings got married before me. I'm the oldest of my family, and I was number 4 to get married. And so it was very, very challenging, many, many painful years. I dated a few hundred men, thousands of dates, a few broken engagements. So at the age of 34, when I finally got married, I really had paid my dues to single life and understood more than I really wanted to know about dating and all the experiences that go into that. Um, and just to give you a little background story of my husband was married when he was 23. And we actually had been engaged at the same time to different people, but he actually got married and I did not. And his wife was already sick in hospital from Shav. She was very ill and she struggled for the next 10 years with all sorts of ailments and Crohn's disease and colitis and all kinds of hospital visits every 6 to 8 weeks. And so he was much more of a caretaker, I would say, than he was leading a normal married life. He did not have any children in those years because she was too unwell to have kids. And so he went through many painful, years as well. At the age of 30, she passed away. And I was the first girl that he met right after she passed away. So he went through many different struggles than I did. And when the time was right, and only when HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that the time was right, he found me in probably about half an hour. He decided to, do some searches online on a from dating website that someone had recommended. He found me and decided, that's it. This is where I want to start. Shut down his account. And he decided it was going to be me. I, on the other hand, took me 14 years, but who's counting? So after that experience, I, really dedicated myself to helping singles and to helping relieve a lot of the pressure and stress that goes into the dating process. And wanted to give back in a way that I felt that I could because of what I had gone through. I was also approached by many people to get started, mainly because I had gone through it. And so, obviously, with training, but much of my experiences are things that I did a lot of hard work on in myself in order to bring me to this place to be able to, to get married, make it to the other side. And so I'm here to try to do what I can to relieve the pressure, to make the journey simpler, to help us navigate the very, very challenging, often painful waters of dating. So, our topic this evening is dating with dignity. And the reason why I picked this topic is because I felt that, and as well, Esther felt that there are so many times in dating where girls might feel compromised or distraught because either shidduchim are not going the way we had thought. Ideas are not coming up fast enough. They're coming up, but they're not the right ideas. This is not what I had in mind. The boy said no, the family said no. And there's all kinds of pieces of this puzzle that could be very, very painful. And I feel that with the right perspective, we can really, really, by the end of this evening, try to relieve some of that pressure, some of that pain, and give us a different perspective. I can't guarantee that you'll meet him tomorrow, but I really do believe that by the end of this evening, we will hopefully be able to make a dent in some of the burden and the pressure that we feel in dating. So I wanted to start with a couple of fundamental points. This is going to sound very basic, but when you get married, I'm assuming you're marrying one person, right? When we marry one person and we make a decision, right? The definition of the word decide has the letters IDE, right? Ide, suicide, homicide, pesticide. All these words mean the killing off of a bug, right? So when we decide to make a decision to marry one person, we are killing off all the other options that are out there. And that's what makes marriage so beautiful. We choose to build this life with one specific person as opposed to anyone else. Part of that decision is also something that comes attached to a decision, which is called rejection, right? In order to choose one person to be married to, we have to reject all others. And therefore, we inevitably will reject every single person, or we will be rejected by every single shidduch that comes up, except for one shidduch. That is the only one that we will not be rejecting, okay? The reason why I say this is, obviously this is clear and obvious, but I think when we put it in that kind of light, we're able to get more comfortable with the idea of rejection. And the reason why that's so important is because when we become so wounded, we become so hurt, we become so pained that our whole our whole self-esteem is wrapped up in the idea that he said no to me and I can't believe that this happened. How could that family say no to me? And like, I thought they liked me and I'm friends with the sister and the cousin and I can't believe I got a no. When our whole self-worth gets tied up in the rejection, it's not healthy for ourselves. It's not healthy for our dating. And it's certainly not healthy for where we're headed. Okay. And so one of the first most fundamental foundational components, I think, is this: getting comfortable with rejection. Rejection doesn't mean that I'm rejecting you, that I don't think you're pretty, smart, from, kind. That's not what it means. Rejection means that even though you are wonderful and he is wonderful, for some reason, he or she does not believe that this is a proper fit, either because it doesn't match up with what I'm looking for, or maybe it doesn't match up with the personality that I had in mind, or the family that I had in mind, or the, amount of years of learning that I had in mind. Whatever doesn't match up. And guess what? That decision may be wrong. Somebody might be jumping to conclusions and making a poor decision today, and 5 years later will decide to say yes, and that couple can get married. It happens all the time, right? But for today, this person or myself have decided that this is not the right shidduch. And therefore, reframing the idea that rejection is a reflection of me and my self-worth, and being able to just clearly understand that this just means that this is not a shidduch for me. There is nothing wrong with me. I didn't do anything bad. This is just not a shidduch for me. And I can very comfortably and confidently move on to the right shidduch that might be for me. So that's number one. I want to just get started with that. So getting comfortable with rejection, understanding it's not personal, being able to take it well and move forward, and also realize that, like, wow, thank you so much. Now I have clarity. The shidduch said no to me. Now I have clarity. I can now move on comfortably, knowing that, I could check that. I can cross that one off the list. It's not going to happen, and I'll move on. So that should actually be freeing for a lot of people. Instead of like wondering what the shidduch is going to say about me, I got to know, okay, time to move on. Could it be disappointing? Yes. But it's also a message of, don't waste so much emotional energy on that specific shidduch. It's not for you. He doesn't want it. The family doesn't want it. For whatever reason, time to move on. So I want to start there. Number one. Number two, if we don't believe that we are worthy of a great shidduch, right? Someone who will treat us with the proper dignity, someone who will respect us, someone who will keep us safe, someone who will treat us with, the appropriate mitos, then no one else is going to be able to think that as well. And if we're coming to the table with broken parts or broken pieces, there's no judgment there. But I do recommend that you get the help that you need, because marriage is not going to solve those broken pieces. It will not. I'll say it again. It will certainly not solve those broken pieces. If anything, it will double the brokenness, because instead of you dealing with your own challenging, maybe it's a mental health issue, maybe it's a simcha sachayim issue, maybe it's, if only I meet the right one, then everything in my life is just going to fall into place. If that's the issue, then you're struggling with it on your own. But now if you get married, now that person is struggling with it as well, because you're struggling with it because now you're married. And I highly recommend that you take care of those challenges before marriage. What marriage will do is it will take a happy, healthy, well-adjusted person who knows who they are, knows what they want to build, and another, compatible, happy, healthy, person who knows who they are and knows what they want to build. And it will take two people and help those two people connect and build that future that they want to build. That it will definitely do. And when you take two happy, healthy people who want to build compatible futures, they build a happy, healthy life, which doesn't seem to be very complicated. And so I think that unfortunately, it's a given that in our childhood, we get all our childhood needs met. We move into our, adult life stages, and we're able to get, the love, the confidence, the skills to move on as an adult, know who we are, know what we want to build in our future, and then just go out and find that. Unfortunately, today, a lot of people are looking for that person, that husband, that wife to complete them, not in the sense of, I know who I am, and I need completion, but I'm looking for you to kind of tell me who I am, or I'm looking for you to help me work through those challenging wounds that I have within myself. And that is definitely very dangerous. So just let's, put that out there. Okay. In addition, knowing my self-worth and knowing that I am worthy of a great shidduch often attracts that, right? So when I am a positive person, when I know what I want to build, when I know my value, and I am not willing to settle. When I say settle, I don't mean compromise. Compromise is a good thing, but settling to beneath my worth is obviously not healthy. Okay. And when we're able to know our worth and know our value and stand up for that, that is a healthy thing. But that is different than being able to be flexible when it comes to, let's say, a package. Is everyone able to mute themselves?
Oh my God, guys.
It seems like we've got some background noise.
Let's see if I can mute from my end.
Yeah, usually you can mute
Be able
everybody.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. Okay. I think
So,
we're good now.
okay. So knowing our value, knowing our worth is different than settling. No one's saying settle and marry someone who is, not from enough for you, not intelligent enough for you, not confident enough for you. That's not what we're saying. But it is important to understand that the same kind of person that you're looking for and all the qualities that are important to you may also come in a slightly different package. It may come in a different city than you had expected. It may come in a slightly different family that you expected. It may come in taller, shorter, slightly different personality than you had in mind, right? And very often what happens is people get very thrown off by that because it doesn't match the picture that they have in their mind. Now, when most people call me for many different reasons, one of the things they say is like, I just need to find the right girl. I just need to find the right guy, right? There's a lot of background noise. Okay. I just need to find the right girl. I just need to find the right guy, right? And very few people call me and say, how can I be the right girl? How can I be the right guy? How can I work on myself so that I am more capable of attracting the kind of person that I'm looking for? That's the phone calls I don't get that I wish I got, right? And so when we become all those qualities that we are looking for, we have a higher probability of finding that. And I find that a lot of people are looking for all of these wonderful, spectacular qualities, but when they actually look in the mirror, they don't really possess those qualities. And yes, there's something to say for marrying someone who can balance us out, of course, personalities that can bring out the best in each other, 100%. But if you are looking for, someone who's ashkafically, 10 steps ahead of you and you're not there, well, you're not going to attract that kind of guy, right? So you need to be compatible with what you're asking for. And, when people call me, they don't say, I'm looking for a guy who's like, if his family's a little bit off, that's okay. Or if he's a little socially awkward, I'm fine with that. Or, if he's really, really not good looking, like, that doesn't bother me. Nobody calls me saying that People only call me saying all the most amazing, wonderful qualities you could possibly imagine. And that's great. It's just we might have forgotten that he's human and he comes with flaws. And guess what? So do I. Right? If we look in the mirror, we might also recognize that we have some things about our personality that might also be a little hard for someone to deal with. Maybe we can get frustrated easily. Maybe we're like very scheduled and very type A and everything has to be a certain way. Otherwise, we get frazzled. Maybe we're super laid back and maybe we're kind of messy or we're kind of a little lazy or we're not as ambitious as we could or should be, right? And those qualities are not bad because they have many other great qualities on the other side, but those are qualities that someone is going to have to live with. And so looking in the mirror when we're dating and saying, who am I? What are the great qualities that I bring to the table? And also, what is the package that someone is going to have to take on when they marry me is super helpful to kind of balance us out. And then when we realize who we are and what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are, and then we can say, what kind of person would balance us? What kind of person would be able to bring out the best in us and I could bring out the best in him? Right? Balance is a really important piece in marriage. Um, you know, it's not just about, what yeshiva he went to and how many years he's learning, although that is important. And I would never say otherwise. But understanding the qualities of the human being that I could be married to, the midos, right? The emotional capacity, his ability to listen when I speak, validate my feelings, laugh with this person, enjoy his company. These are things that are going to last a lifetime. So being able to understand that sometimes when I meet a really great person and we connect on so many levels, there might be one or two things that weren't what I expected, but that's not bad. Those are not bad things. Those are not unnecessarily red flags. They might be things that I didn't expect. Okay. I didn't expect that he would live in a different country. I didn't expect that he would be that tall or that short, or that his parents would be Sephardi. I didn't expect that he would learn in that yeshiva. I imagine that we're going to start off in Eretz Yisrael, and all my friends did that, so why shouldn't I do that? And those are wonderful, lofty things to want, and everybody should get everything that they're looking for. I tell everyone, I daven that everyone should get everything that they're looking for. I also daven that people should get married. So we have to sometimes ask ourselves, you know, there's a balance between knowing our value, knowing our worth, and bishvili livra olam. At the same time, understanding that if I'm making what I'm looking for, such a tiny pesach for Hakadosh Baruch Hu to bring that zivug, it's going to make it very difficult. If I'm not willing to be flexible on any of it, right? So what tends to happen is when we're younger and we just got back from seminary, we feel like, oh, I should be able to get anything that I want. And some girls get married that way, very, very young. And even though we think that they got everything they wanted, they're often, not married yet. So they don't really know this person very, very well. And Mir Hashem, all those marriages work out well. But as we get a little bit older and get to know ourselves a little bit more, we realize deeper parts of ourselves that need compatibility. And the person that would actually complete us, the personality that would complete us, might be different than what we thought of when we were 19. And it's okay to shift that picture, right? While still maintaining my value, my worth, and understanding that as much as we want everyone to find their zivug, and in Hashem, everybody will. Sometimes not everyone's going to get married at 19. Sometimes everyone's not going to get married at 20. And I feel very confident saying this because I'm going to share a story that happened to me when I was 21 and I was engaged. And I went to a very big gadol. And I was asking him if I should break the shidduch because there was some very big, significant reasons why I wanted to break the shidduch. And he sat with me for over an hour, which for a gadol is a pretty big deal. And he ultimately told me that I should break the shidduch. And I was so heartbroken because I felt like, how am I going to get married again? I had just finally found this person that I really connected with. Like, how am I going to get married again? Mind you, I was 21 at the time. It felt like the world was ending. And he said to me, you're going to be okay. And he gave me a bracha. Okay. A couple of years go by. And I come to him again when must have been 23. Okay. And at that point, 23, like, whoa, that's like really old. Like, I can't handle being 23 and single. That was not going to work. And I came to him crying. How could it be? I'm single and you gave me a bracha and I broke this shidduch. And it was like very, very very overwhelming. And he said to me, you know, don't say this in my name until I pass. But he said to me, he's like, you're 23. You have your whole life to be married. Go do something for Klal Yisrael. That's what he told me. Couldn't believe it. But I had the confidence to move on because I had a gadol behind me saying that I could do that. And I couldn't believe that he actually told me that. Obviously, I continued to date, but what I did take from that message is that there are many, many different ages that people get married. And yes, for our from culture, it is ideal that we get married young and we find the right person. And Mir Hashem, it works that way for everybody. But sometimes it doesn't work that way for everybody. And for those years that we're waiting, it's not a bad thing. We shouldn't feel like it's a negative thing to be single. It's actually a time to really use that time wisely and very carefully to work on your growth, to develop your relationships, at home, to work on your midos, to work on your career. You want to sit and support a boy who's learning, working on your career and getting a few years of education behind you while you're still dating is not a bad thing. You'll be positioned in a better position to help support him if you have some of that education behind you, right? So nobody's setting out to say put your career first, but to be able to focus on the fact that there's nothing wrong with me. I just have not found that right person, I think is a message that unfortunately has gotten lost and will give us back our self-worth and our dignity, especially as a community. I think that the Frum community needs to work on this a little bit, being able to not look down at singles for being single. There's nothing wrong with being 19 and single. There's nothing wrong with being 20 and single. I obviously people get very uncomfortable when they see older singles. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They're not quite sure where to put them, right? What should I tell you? My husband was married. There was nothing for me to do. I was just waiting. Now, I didn't realize that at the time, right? But it was certainly worth the wait. And I wouldn't change it for anything. And I don't think I could have married my husband sooner. And there are many, many stories like this. So I'm hoping that through a little bit of our discussion this evening, we can gain back the confidence, gain back the self-worth, realign our values as to what is really important, be able to embrace rejection, lean into it as opposed to run away from it, so that when shidduchim comes up, we see it as an opportunity, not as a pressure and not as a stress. No one should feel pressured into a shidduch because, oh my gosh, if I don't marry this guy, there's never going to be another guy on the planet, right? That's not a reason to marry somebody. Even if everything lines up on paper, that's great. You also have to like him. You're going to have to live with him for life. Liking him is kind of very important. And so I have a lot of girls calling me saying like, but he's everything I'm looking for. Do you like him? No. Do you enjoy being in his company? No. Are you attracted to him? No. But why are we here? Because my parents said it's such a good shidduch, and the shadchan says it's such a good shidduch. I'd be crazy to give it up, right? But you don't like him, and not because he's a bad person. There's just no connection. There's just you just don't. It's just a chemistry thing. I just don't enjoy his company, right? So that's something to keep in mind because making decisions under pressure are not necessarily good decisions. And when we date from a place of calmness, when we date from a place of knowing who I am, feeling comfortable with the stage that I'm at. I'm not running away from being single. I am wanting to move towards being married to the right person. And waiting for that right person is not a bad thing. It's probably going to be worthwhile in the end. The last two things I want to just, end with before we jump into some more Q&A is I think we have spent a lot of time in Beis Yaakov learning about Amun and Bitachon, but then when it comes to the actual practice of it in Shidduchim, we somehow panic and we get scared. And I don't know how that happened because the ultimate shadchan is a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And as much as you want to run to all the shadchanim and you want to fix your resume and you want to, dress to impress, and all of those things are good. All of those things are wonderful. But if we have lost the ability to recognize that a Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world and that when the right shidduch is going to come, that's when it's going to come. And because we try to force it, it's not necessarily going to come any faster. We might just frustrate ourselves more, right? So I have all these Beis Yaakov girls coming to me with like anxiety and depression. And oh my gosh, and I went to that shach and she said she doesn't know anybody and I'm never getting married, right? At 19 and a half, right? To me, that is a real lack of bitachon. I really encourage people to work on it. Buy yourself a shari bitachon, get yourself a friend, start learning about it, learning to let go of what you think you need to control in order to allow Kadosh Baruch Hu to do what he does best. And what I like to say is that depression and anxiety is really the gap between what I think my life should look like and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu thinks my life should look like. And I get very uncomfortable when my vision of what my life should look like is not in alignment with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides. And I know all your friends are getting engaged. I get it. It's really hard. I've been there. I must have gone through 20 to 25 chevras of friends. I get it. It's really, really hard. But over those years, I became a different person. And a lot of people are saying, I don't want to become a different person. I just want to get married. I agree with you. I want you to get married too. I don't know if that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in mind for you, right? And so the faster we try to align our vision with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in mind, the faster we will be calm, we'll be more relaxed. And when we date from a place of calm and relaxation and without pressure, and knowing that I'm a good girl, I've got a lot to offer, I'm going to find him in the right time. It's going to happen. We will date from a much more genuine, real, authentic place, not trying to be everything that everyone else wants us to be, but being in touch with who we really are. I think that we have a much higher chance of having a better dating experience and attracting the right person. So, should we daven? Oh, yes, you should definitely daven, right? And should we beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu to send it right away? Sure. But in the meantime, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not sending it right away, you know what that tells me? That tells me you should not be married right now. I don't know why. You don't know why. But it's best that we get comfortable with the idea that if I'm going to be single right now, what can I do to use that time wisely in terms of my own personal relationships, my own growth, my own development, my own bitachon? Because all those bitachon muscles, I promise you, you will need those bitachon muscles way after you get married. It's best to start working at it now. And so something that I tell people you can really practice right now is if you're not married, start practicing the muscles that you will need in marriage. So for instance, patience. Okay. Start working with a special needs child who needs a lot of patience. Work on your patience. Okay. Chesed, start volunteering in an organization and start pushing your chesed muscles a little bit beyond your comfort zone. Because guess what? Being a mother of a family is going to require you to do chesed beyond your comfort zone. That's how you become a more giving person, right? Communication, learn how to communicate effectively with friends and family. If you have relationships that need repairing, practice repairing those relationships. These are examples of how we can strengthen marriage muscles without being married, right? If there's something that you don't want to do and you know that it's the right thing to do, push yourself to do it anyways. That will help you become less selfish, right? These are all muscles that are very hard to practice alone, but it is possible. So that when you do get married to the right person, you will say, oh, chesed, I know how to do chesed. Being selfless, I can do that. I could be a giver. Practice these areas now because it'll make it easier for you later. And to me, using that time wisely is probably the best gift that you'll ever have. And looking back on those years, you don't want to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I spent 5 years crying myself to sleep because I didn't find the right, like he wasn't there. Why didn't I just, go do something enjoyable? Why didn't I just join that chesed organization? Why didn't I just, I don't know, travel? Why didn't I just go to those shiurim? Like, why didn't I take on that hobby that would have made me happier so that when I faced the dating world, I was positive, right? Do the things that you probably won't be able to do in the future because Baruch Hashem, you'll be a busy mommy, right? And a busy wife. That's the best message that I can give you. When I look back at my 14 years of being single, I really don't regret any of them. There were some very challenging, hard years, but I really I chose wisely when it came to friends. I moved away from people that had a negative effect on me. I moved towards people that believed in me and people that encouraged me and supported me. And that is really what got me through it. Like that and Kadosh Baruch Hu, like what else did I have? Right. And your sitter. So, I'll end with this quick story. My grandfather, who survived the camps in Auschwitz, was, they would separate people, left and right. And he was sent to the left. He was sent to be killed. And he's waiting in line with 100 other able-bodied men to be killed. And, what does a person do when they're waiting in line to be killed? Chas v'shalom. So he davens and he says all the, vidui and animam. He did all the davening he knew by heart. And he's still sitting there because I guess it took time until you, line them up. And he decided, you know what? I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and let them just wait till they kill me. This is not, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to try to defend myself. What are they going to do? Kill me? So fine. It'll be 5 minutes earlier. So he marches himself up to the head of the line. And he had a polished German because I think that he was given German classes as a young child. And he saluted the commander and he said, this line of 100 men that you want to kill, by the way, they're all able-bodied men. They're not sick. They're just hungry. So if you would like to have, extra workers, just give them another piece of bread and a bowl of soup. They'll do whatever you want, but they're not sick. They're just hungry. And the commander thought about it and he sent 100 men back in line for another bowl of soup and another piece of bread. Mind you, in that line was not only my grandfather, my mother's father, but it was also my other grandfather, my father's father. And so he saved his life, 100 men. And one of those other men was his future Mechon. Okay. And so the heirloom story that we have in my family is if you don't ask, you don't get. And so that is my takeaway when it comes to tefillah. If you don't ask, you don't get. And be very careful what you ask and how you ask it because you might get it. So for instance, I wanted to marry a boy who was sitting learning 5 years. Guess what? I got it. I neglected to put in the fine print that when he's learning for 5 years, I should be married to him and he shouldn't be married to somebody else. I forgot that part. Okay. So be careful. You be careful how you daven. It's actually a serious thing. But really, there's nothing more that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants than to see you happily married and to be with that right zivug. And sometimes the best gifts HaKadosh Baruch Hu can give you is not giving you that zivug right now because you might not be ready for it. Either because if you were married, you wouldn't be mature to handle that particular challenge or particular relationship, or because you're not ready to hear that name. There might be particular details in that shidduch that you would say no to. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu's like, you're not ready. It's okay. He's right here. And you're right over here. As soon as you get to the place where you're comfortable with that package, he's right there. Open your eyes. He's right there. Right. And so I think if we can shift our perspective, take a more positive approach, most people find shidduchim. I have to tell you, like 99.9%. I know you're thinking of that one person or two people that that didn't. But I'm telling you right now that if you called them up and you asked them, what happened to you? Not that you would ever do that. But if you did, they will tell you. They will tell you directly because I know they call me and they will say, I shouldn't have said no to that boy. He was a really good boy. And I said no to so many options coming my way that were good shidduchim. And really, I was just scared to get married. And if you're really that scared to get married, you should talk it through with a dating coach or a therapist. And you should work through those things because those are things that can hold us back. Right. And I say this as a blanket statement because I don't know who I'm talking to, but, typically, the singles that struggle very much in getting married are those that fall into 3 categories. One, those that come from divorced homes, which by the way, you can build beautiful, beautiful marriages if you come from a divorced home. It might take a little bit of extra effort, but you can completely build beautiful homes. But you need a little bit of guidance because the memories of what marriage was in your home might not be so ideal. Number 2, coming from a home where unfortunately there was only a single parent because somebody passed, which is obviously nobody's fault, but not seeing that husband-wife dynamic, being able to understand what it means to compromise and to work together and show respect during challenging times is difficult. And number 3 are those singles that come from homes where their parents seem happily married on the outside, but on the inside, those who know that it's not so simple. And those shidduchim suffer a lot, probably the most, because I really want to get married and I'm also scared of getting married. I really want to get married and I'm also scared to get married. So like, I can't believe I don't have a date and then I have a date and he's such a good boy. And I'm kind of self-sabotaging it because I'm so scared. I don't even realize that I'm sabotaging this relationship, but I'm so scared, right? And that's a lot of the work that I come in and do, working with those 3 categories. So I'm going to pause here for questions. I do have some questions already that people sent me, so we're going to start with those. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to put that into the chat box.
Rachel, can I just interrupt for a second, please? Yeah, so some girls have direct messaged me and then I'm posting it for myself so they can remain anonymous. So if anybody would like to do that, you just direct message to me. It says in the chat box on the right, I think I'm coming up as ST Ripnitz. So you can just message me and then I'll repost it for myself. So we did get
and then you're sending those to me?
They're in the chat right now, like as to everybody.
Oh, they're in the chat right now.
So they're already
okay, fine.
like
So you took away the names. Okay, fine. So
yeah,
then let's start
so
here.
I basically, so if anybody would like to do that, feel free. Unless you want to message Rachel directly if you have her number. I don't think they
So
could.
let's
They
start.
actually could. They could choose your name. So they could do that
Yeah,
as well.
they can send it to me
Whatever
either way.
works. Yeah.
Let's start with what you have over here. If anything, okay, let's see what it says. I'm trying to make it. I don't think myself or my friends are looking for such great people. If anything, we're too good for most boys out there. It almost feels like I shouldn't become even better because then boys get intimidated. Okay. So I know you're not going to believe me, but I'm going to say it anyways. The right boy is not going to be intimidated by you. He just won't because he's the right boy. And the reason why all other boys are intimidated by you is because he's not the right boy. So yes, of course, be yourself on a date. Also be mindful that if if you're going to come on a date full force, right? That's not going to give a boy an opportunity to shine. We want to go on a date trying to see the good in a person. Before you go on a date, you're researching, making sure this is compatible. Does this make sense for me? Okay, good. All the hashkafas line up, fine. But once you're on the date, it's not about who's better. It's about, can I see the good in you? Can I see if this is compatible? He's not going to be you. He is going to be compatible to you. Just remember that two puzzle pieces, the only reason they fit together so well is because they're cut out differently. And so new daters often go out dating looking for a boy version of themselves, which will never work because we already have you. We don't need another you. We need someone who is compatible to you, which is a balance to your personality, right? So if you are very high achieving and type A and organized and always scheduled, right? That's great. But he's not going to be that. Otherwise, the two of you are going to be, your kids are going to be like on edge. Not a good idea. He should probably be a little more laid back, more relaxed, more easygoing. Maybe you'll be more talkative than him. These are not bad things. But we have to be open to the idea that it's going to be different than what I expected. So I use the muscle like when I walk into a shoe store and I'm going in for like a patent leather black booty. Okay, that's what I want. Somehow I walked out with a navy blue high heel. Does it mean that I'm unhappy with that navy blue on heel? No, I got a great deal. It fits perfectly. I love it. I'm totally going to use it. It's different than what I had expected. That doesn't mean it's not, I don't love it. So people think when they compromise that they're settling. It's not true. When I am flexible about the package, that doesn't mean that I am compromising on the fundamental important qualities. So just quickly, there's a difference between what I need and what I want. Needs are things that I can't compromise on. I need to be able to respect this person. I need to be able to feel emotionally safe with this person. I need to be able to feel hashkafically compatible. I need to feel that I'm attracted to this person. Okay. But wants are, I think I would have wanted 2 inches taller. I think I would have wanted more money. I think I would have wanted him from that city or that yeshiva. Those are not things that are actually going to affect a marriage. Those are nice to haves, and you might get some of them. You probably won't get all of them because nobody's perfect. But be very careful that you don't get everything that you want and nothing that you need, because that's really where it's dangerous. People have this whole list. I want, I want, I want. This isn't a grocery shopping list. This isn't Amazon, okay, that I just buy it. And if it doesn't come in the way I want, I just ship it back, right? This is a human being with flaws and with beautiful strengths, just like you. And just like you have parts of your personality that you need someone to be able to handle and embrace, he will have the same. And so that is the beautiful, beautiful gift of marriage, that you're imperfect and I'm imperfect, and we are going to be perfectly imperfect together for the rest of our lives. We're going to be working on ourselves to be able to build a beautiful future. And it's not always going to be easy or simple, but we're going to do it together. And that makes the journey of life special and meaningful. So make sure that those needs are there, but also try to be open and flexible to the package. We're not settling. We're not marrying someone who's beneath you, but so to go back to the question, somebody who is intimidated by you, are you trying to intimidate him, or is that naturally, how you act on a date? Ask yourself, are you trying to scare him away for some reason? Maybe we're scared about getting married and I'm just kind of trying to scare him away so that if he's scared away, I don't have to worry about my fear of marriage. That comes up a lot. So lots more to say here, but I'll stop at that. Okay. There's so much noise from family, friends, community about who you're supposed to be and what you should want for your future. Do you have any advice on how to filter out the outside noise so we can figure out who we really are and really want? Everyone says you need to really know yourself, but I feel like it's a lot easier said than done. Any advice, tips, exercise that I could help? Okay. Again, I'm not sure exactly, the audience that we're speaking to. This might be challenging for some, but not for others. What I can tell you is, when the music stops and the guests go home, you are going to be left with this person. And I really hope that they care about you and love you for who you actually are and not the person you pretended to be. Because if they're liking you for all the things that you pretended to be, because that's what family and friends and society wanted of you, it's going to be a problem because you know what? The real person inside is going to be very lonely. So instead of hiding the fact that, like, I'm such a giver, that's just part of my personality, but I think if I give too much, people will think it's weird, right? Embrace it. Find someone who values that in you, who wants that, who thinks that that's beautiful. Okay. Instead of hiding the fact that I happen to be super, super smart and I'm scared boys will get scared of it, embrace it. That is a strength of yours. Find someone who appreciates it. Right. And this is a longer conversation, but it essentially goes back to dating from a place of authenticity, dating from a place of realness, as opposed to my friends and family said, this is what I should want. This is who I should be. And therefore, that's how I'm advertising myself. And by the way, this is where relationships struggle. When I advertise myself in a different way than who I actually am, then essentially I'm marrying myself off to a different person. And then we get married and he's like, who are you? Who is this person? Like, I don't even, you can only hide this for so long. Right. So being confident about who you are and knowing that Akash Baruch Hu knows how to find you a person who's not going to be intimidated by you, who's going to appreciate your great qualities. Maybe you think I'm so sensitive. Maybe a guy is going to like get turned off by it. Maybe I should just hide my sensitivity. No, you should obviously, we don't come on a date, vomiting all of our emotional, stuff at the table, the first day, but wanting to realize that someone who should embrace the fact that you're sensitive and you're kind and you're thoughtful. That should be something that someone finds beautiful in you. When you find someone who likes you for the real parts of you, that is a really authentic relationship. And that is something that will keep you satiated throughout your life. Okay. This is just for you. Okay. Looks. How much should we take looks? How far should we take this? Right? So there are some girls, honestly, who take this really, really far and think that, dating is all about looks. And there's some girls who don't take it far enough, right? So there's a balance and in between. So it could be a touchy subject, but this is usually the way that I approach it. It's not for me to tell anybody what they need to do to put themselves together, right? I might think she needs to lose weight. I might think she needs to do her hair better or her makeup better or put on some nail polish. Okay. But what's most important is you going out and feeling beautiful and confident on a date. You need to feel that when you present yourself on a date, you feel good about how you look, not just physically, emotionally, psychologically. I feel good about who I'm presenting because you know what? I have a lot to offer. I am intelligent. I am capable. I am funny. I am creative. I am hardworking. I'm going to be a great mother, a great wife. And whoever marries me is a pretty lucky guy. I just have to find him, right? That might be 20 pounds thinner. That might be 10 pounds thinner. I don't know, right? That might be more makeup. That might be less makeup. What I will say is that when you go looking for a house, if a realtor took you to a house where the grass was overgrown and there was, mud all over the fence and there were vines growing up the house and it hadn't been painted in 20 years, even though the inside of the house would be a mansion, you probably would get turned off from going inside. And so therefore, I encourage people to put their best foot forward. Yes, I know that you don't always dress yourself up like this on an average day, but I would encourage people to put your best foot forward when it comes to looks. We do not have to go over the top here. Spending, 4 hours to get ready for a date is over the top. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to put yourself together in an hour. Okay. But understanding that if you put no effort into that, there are going to be repercussions because even though we want someone to love us for who we are, we still have to recognize, I don't know who you are. I just met you. You're a stranger. And so when I'm going to show the house, I should just put on some paint on the house, mow the lawn, clean it up, make it look menschlich. And then people are going to be interested in what's on the inside. Now, yes, what's on the inside is most important, but I have to be able to, people have to want to come to see what's on the inside. If they're turned off from the outside, that's not going to be a good idea. So yes, it's a balance between being authentic to who you really are. If you feel so uncomfortable in a specific outfit that you think you would never ever wear and you're only wearing it because your mother's forcing you to wear that, that bumps up to me against you not being authentic with who you are. But going a little bit out of your comfort zone to put yourself together is not a bad thing. And this is the reason why. Akash Baruch Hu made men and women very different. Okay. I'm not going to get into all the details here, but everyone has different needs. And this is how Hashem made the Bria. So you can't argue against it because this is just how Hashem made the world. Women are attracted to men who are going to give them a certain amount of emotional nurturing, a friendship, a compatibility, understanding. I want to feel like I have someone who is there for me, a best friend, right? Someone who can really be a confidant, right? And I need to respect him, obviously, and want to build the same kind of Torah home that he wants to build. And therefore, in order to respect him, the things that I need are, those qualities that I mentioned, right? And maybe for a guy, it's hard for him to talk about feelings or to hear all about his wife's day because he's just not built that way. And maybe he gets bored after a little while because women talk a lot more than men, and women talk about these kinds of things a lot more than men do, right? But that's how women are built. We're built more emotionally. Okay. And so we want a guy to be there for us in those times when we really need someone to lean on and to just discuss something very painful, right? Or even something, share our happy moments. We want someone to be there for us. And that's fine. But men are built very differently. And Akash Baruch Hu built men much more visual. Okay. That's just how Hashem built men. And so it is important for a guy to feel that he is attracted to his wife. We're not going to get into this in great detail, but there's no reason why a boy who has waited his entire life to get married to one person should not be attracted to his wife. And therefore, it is, your choice, if you would like to put effort into this, because it could be the difference between another date or not. I don't know how to say it kindly. It's not because he doesn't want to see you for you are. It's that he is male, and you don't want a man getting married and looking outside of his marriage, chas v'shalom. So it is important that he's attracted to the woman that he's dating. And therefore, do your best to put yourself together. It does not have to be over the top, but it should be a little bit more than your typical, your typical look. And if you need help with this, I'm sure there are many, many people who are available to help you. You might want to ask family and friends, like, do you think I don't put myself together enough? Do you think I could probably use a little more makeup? Or do you think I need to lose a little bit of weight? Ask someone who you really trust to help you through this, because some people might not realize that for a very small amount of effort, it can have a big impact. So I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. Expand upon how you can utilize single life. Give examples of experiences that you were happy you took advantage of. Okay, great. So some great things to get involved with. I personally got involved in a tremendous amount of Kiruv. I was involved in Kiruv for about 10 to 12 years before I got married. And it's a good thing that I was, because my husband was a Kiruv rabbi on campus. So as soon as I got married, I became the Kiruv Rebbitzin at University of Maryland. And if I would not have been involved in Kiruv, it would have been very difficult for me. So Akash Baruch Hu set me up very well with a nice, good 10 to 12 year internship in Kiruv, so that when I got married to a Kiruv rabbi, I was able to fill those shoes pretty easily. So aside from a lot of Kiruv that I was involved with in America and Eretz Yisrael, I traveled the world. I took up all kinds of hobbies. I got involved in all kinds of chesed, some more public chesed, some more private chesed. I got very involved in my siblings' lives. There are two choices. You can cry boohoo that you're not married, or you can, instead of beating them, just join them. And I became very involved with my nieces, my nephews. My siblings relied on me tremendously. If they were in labor, I was there watching the kids, and I didn't fight it, because here's the thing. They didn't steal my husband. There was no chance that they were going to steal my husband. They had their own husbands. And yes, they all got married before me. And I know this is going to be very, very hard for people to hear. But sometimes you might need to let a younger sibling go before you. You know why? Not because it's easy, but because they found their shidduch, and they're not going to steal anything from you. They never have, and they never would. So it's really important that we maintain our dignity, maintain our positivity, understand that Akash Baruch Hu has a zivug for you and is not stealing your zivug because maybe someone else's zivug came first. And instead of being so down about it and being so angry about it or bitter about it, we're probably better off embracing it and say, how can I enhance your simcha? Let me get involved. Can I help take you for gown fittings? Right? Can I help watch your kids? Why don't you go away with your husband? I'll watch the kids. I love my nieces and nephews. They're adorable. Right. And so I use that time very wisely. I look back and I'm so thankful that I was able to use that time wisely. And I recommend that everyone do that, because once you get married, Mirz Hashem, you are not going to have time for those things. You're going to be busy cooking Shabbos and Yontif and making beds for guests and having kids. And you're not going to have that time. So use that time now, because you won't have it again. You don't want to regret that time. Okay. My mother wants me to meet every shadchan in town, out of town, you name it. She says that that's my ishtadlus, but honestly, very rarely they set me up, and that's very discouraging. How important is it? I really don't enjoy going. Okay, so this is going to be a little chalukadeos depending on who you ask, but since you're asking me, I'm just going to answer for myself. Everyone has to know themselves. So, I encourage people to push themselves just a little bit beyond their comfort zone because it's always good to stretch yourself and push yourself a little bit beyond your comfort zone. But if I'm pushing you so far out of your comfort zone that you are not presenting your best self when you go to a shadchan, or you are coming home like weeks later so distraught by the experience or by things that they said to you, and it's actually damaging your ability to date properly because they're putting you in such a depressive place, that is not worthwhile, right? I do recommend that you do some level of shtadlos. It could be that you're, speaking to family and friends. It doesn't have to be shadchanim. Shadchanim are wonderful, and we so appreciate everything that they do, but it's not the only avenue. Why don't we speak to your brother's friends and figure out like who in that age bracket could be appropriate for you? Why don't we speak to the Rosh Yeshiva of a yeshiva that you think you would be compatible with? Why don't we speak to aunts and uncles and remind them like, oh, you probably didn't realize that Rivka's dating now. Like she just came back. You probably didn't realize, but here's what she's looking for. Here's a copy of her resume, right? So you can go to shadchanim, nothing wrong with that. But if you're torturing yourself to the point where it's having a negative effect on what we're trying to accomplish here, that's not a very good sign. And so we have to maintain your mental health as well. Otherwise, we're not presenting the best version of you when you go on a date. And we want to make sure that you are feeling positive and happy with who you are when you come on a date. Otherwise, it will affect your dating and your decisions. Okay. I know that I have a few more questions over here. Let me just pull those up. Okay, one second here. Many girls, how to date. Well, that's a large conversation. Okay, so something that we'll just kind of revisit just because this came up a little bit in terms of how to date. Again, going back to just the authenticity, there's no right way to date, right? We want you to be yourself. We don't want you to be someone that you're not. But what I would say is a lot of girls think that if I was just prettier or skinnier, then that would mean that the guys would say yes to me more often. I would have more dates. It's not necessarily true. I actually have boys telling me all the time that they wish a girl would smile more because if she's positive and she's happy and she's friendly to be around, guys will tell me this all the time. I don't care if she's 10 or 15, 20 pounds overweight. That doesn't bother me. What I care more is coming home to a girl who's like angry and bitter and just looks good. That to me just seems like, distasteful. I'm not interested in coming home to a girl like that. So put on your positive side. We all know you have it. And the reason why you don't put that on is because you're nervous, you're pressure. What's he going to think? What's he going to think? Forget about what he's going to think. You'll think about that later. Right now, be yourself, because probably being yourself and being happy and being smiley and cracking a joke and just being more natural is going to be more attractive than you just trying to be perfect. Nobody needs a soldier. We want you to be authentic to who you are, because that is actually the most attractive parts of you, the parts of you that are actually you, because you know how to do that really well because it's natural, because it's you. So let's try to stop putting on all the shows and let's try to be more authentic to who we are. Let's feel confident when we go out, positive about who we are. There was a comment before about, knowing who I really am and what I really want. Yes, to a certain extent, you do have to figure out like, where am I hashkafically? What are my values? What's important to me? Do I think I can handle a boy who's sitting and learning long-term, or maybe not? I don't know, right? But it is important to think about that to some extent. After that, we can't expect the guy to give us our hashkafa. We have to know what our hashkafa is, and we're looking for the person that's compatible with that. But there was another, question here that just goes into, being open to a guy who's, let's say, a long-term learner, and I wanted a guy who was 3 to 5 years, or I wanted a guy who was 1 to 2 years learning, and being open to someone who's 3 to 5 years. Ladies, I'm not going to tell you how long your husband should be sitting and learning. Honestly, I'm not sure anybody can answer that. Even you signed a dotted line. Like, nobody knows this. Like, where's HaKadosh Baruch Hu here? I had mentioned to Esther that I had a friend who married a guy who was a long-term learner, and they were very serious about it. And they got married, and she was newly pregnant with quadruplets naturally. And that was it. She was on bed rest. She couldn't work and he had to go to work. That was it. That was the end of that. We don't control life. And probably the last thing that you think that you can control or that you do think will be controlled is like who you choose to marry. But after that, like you don't choose your kids. You don't choose you don't choose your mother-in-law. You don't choose, your children's personality. You just don't, you don't even choose, you don't choose your parents, you don't choose your height, you don't choose your hair color. Like these are things that are given to you. And so I ask people, why do you think that is? Like, why is it that Akash Baruch Hu lets us choose our zivug? Or we think we're choosing our zivug because, even within our choice box, things are limited. And we don't get to choose anything else, right? And the answer I give is because marriage requires an extraordinary amount of giving. And so in order to give to that level, I need to want to give to this person. Therefore, if I choose this person, then I will want to give to this person more, right? I mean, it would be simpler if we all came with little dog tags that were attached to our ankle at birth. And it says, Shlomi Schwartz is your husband. Call him when you're, 19 and you're ready to get married. And we just set up, right? It would be so much simpler. Why do I have to go through this whole crazy process, right? It's a process of growth. It's a process of self-discovery. It's a process of getting to know yourself. And you get to know yourself more through dating and more through marriage. And there are really two pathways. One pathway to growth and development is getting married very young and growing together with my spouse because we are young, we are kids, and we are growing up together. And that is how we become the adults that we need to be. And through that, it can be challenging. You're getting married, you're growing yourself, you're working, you're in school, you're also growing the next generation and trying to be a parent. There's a lot of pressures there, right? But many beautiful relationships are established that way. But there's another equally wonderful way to get to the same destination that nobody talks about. And that is grow yourself, develop yourself, mature yourself into the person that you need to become, or at least heading to the person that you need to become in order to meet the right person that you need to be with. And nobody knows which path HaKadosh Baruch Hu has set for us. But if your path is that you get married young, that's great. Enjoy that path and be so thankful that you didn't have to have challenges in dating. But you know what? You might have challenges in other areas that other people don't. But if your challenge is to be single for a little longer than you may have felt comfortable with, understand that that is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will for you, and that is where growth is going to come from you. It doesn't mean you're not getting married. It just means that in order to meet that person, you need to be in a certain place, and you'll have to get to that place in order to meet him, and you won't meet him before that. So I think that that's like, if we can take one thing away, I think that that would be like a very important takeaway. I know this might be out of the box, but I've been told to wear tighter things, keep my hair longer, wear high heels, all things that would be semi-lowering my standards of tznius, because that is what my mom and boys want, and I will get more noticed because I'm more beautiful. Is this something I should listen to so that I am more noticeable but still tznius, or should I ignore those comments? I give out. Okay. Again, going back to authenticity, I don't want you to advertise the wrong version of yourself, because you know what will happen? You are going to attract somebody who is not what you're looking for. So if you are feeling that you are compromising your level of tznius in order to catch a boy, that sounds very, very wrong to me. The kind of boy you're going to catch is not the kind of boy you want. So if you want a boy who has certain standards of tznius, then you need to uphold those standards, because how else are you going to attract that boy, right? Could you attract attract boys maybe more that way? Well, you could attract boys. I just don't think that's the kind of boys you're going to want. So be very careful with that. And a lot of girls cut corners in this area because frankly, they're desperate and they think that that's going to be the thing that's going to like make it happen for them. And what they don't realize is they cut corners, but now that boy, he wants that kind of girl who's always going to dress like that. And after she gets married and she's got 4 kids and she doesn't have that body anymore, and she doesn't feel comfortable dressing that way, he's still going to want her to dress that way. And what is she going to do? Say no? He's like, that when I met you, you dressed that way. Why can't you continue it now? She's like, I don't feel comfortable. Well, you felt comfortable then, right? So be careful not to be out of alignment with your own values, your own authenticity. That is really, really dangerous. I know that it might go against what society wants, but here's the thing. You're the one who's getting married. So if you know who you are and you know what you're looking for, stay true to your values, stay true to your tznius, and stay true to it. Keep it up, and you'll see that you will attract the right quality person to you, as opposed to lowering your standards and attracting something lower to you. Okay. Okay, I think we did that. I think we did that one. Let's just make sure. And I did that one. Okay, Esther, am I missing anything? I think the only thing that we didn't really touch upon is
I think the ones that were posted, I believe I reposted.
yes, I had one here. Let's just see here.
Anybody still has quickly any questions, send it to me, or you can unmute yourself and put your video on and ask it straight.
Okay, I'm getting some here. There's no relevant boys in the community to go out with. My younger friends barely have dates. A year we're okay. We're waiting for a miracle. Okay. Another big thing of mine. We have to stop saying there's no boys out there. We have to erase this from our vocabulary. First of all, when you tell Kadosh Baruch Hu there's no boys out there, let me tell you, you know what there is? There's no boys out there. You know why? Because you said if you decided that Kadosh Baruch Hu is not involved in this picture, and he's like, okay, I'm going to step aside. What do you need me for? You decided there's no boys out there. Stop saying there's no boys out there. Let me tell you, when a couple gets engaged, you can't find a wedding hall. They're so booked up in every single city. You cannot find a wedding date. Like I know many of my friends who are marrying off kids now cannot find wedding dates. People are getting married. There are lots of boys out there. We just have to find the right boy for you. And here's the best news. If you take nothing from this whole night, the best news is you only need one great guy, just one, not 10, not 5, not 20, not 15. This whole parsha is over after you find one. So it's going to be good. It's going to be okay. You need to find one. It might take a little longer than you expected, right? Well, Kadosh Baruch Hu works on his time clock. He doesn't work on our time clock. We have to get comfortable with that. We have to work on making our views in alignment with what his views are, because that's what he decided is best for us. If Akash Baruch Hu wanted you married today, I promise you would be married today, but you're not. So that tells me either you should not be married today because either the boy's not ready or you're not ready, or there's still work that you need to take care of in being single, and make sure you focus on doing that work, because the sooner you do that work in marriage, and we all deep down know, if we get really in touch with our neshama, we all know what we really need to work on. If we know there's certain things that we really need to work on, I'm not talking about external things. I'm talking about internal things. Maybe there are parts of our personality that if we don't work on will really negatively affect a relationship. Work on those things. Now is when you can flex those muscles. If you really work on those things, you will help speed up the process of what you need to accomplish in being single to move on to being married. So there are tons of boys out there. There are tons of girls out there. We need to find the right person, and we need Akash Baruch Hu's help as in everything. But I don't even believe that is true. Okay, we did that one. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just reading through. How to get over a breakup. Okay, how are we running on time? Do we need to stop?
It's really up to you.
Okay.
You're 3 hours ahead, so I know it's getting really late.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I don't want to keep you.
Let me just answer these last two over here.
And then somebody put in the chat box, I think it's posted to everybody, I believe. I guess the same idea that you said before about either being not as tznius as you really are, or the opposite, that you're being more tznius because people are telling you if you're going to dress like that, you're not going to get married like that. You have to be more tznius. So it's the same idea, similar answer, I'm sure.
So it's a similar idea, but again, when we dress, whether we like it or not, and women don't like to hear this, we send a message. We just send a message. So if you're asking for a long-term learner and you're struggling with your tznius because your clothes are very tight and you're not covering your knees, most of are not setting you up with long-term learners. Like, they're just not. You might want that. So then you need to find out, am I in alignment? Is what I'm projecting about myself in alignment with who I am and how I conduct myself? So like we have a similar question here. What should my mindset be when I'm looking for a boy to learn 3 to 5 years in Kolo, but my parents, okay, this is slightly different. But my parents want me to also try working boys who are B'nai Torah. Whenever I go out with the working boys, I feel like I'm firmer than them in terms of my passion for Torah, the music I listen to. I have a kosher phone and they have an iPhone. Are these things important enough to drop him if he is Kovei Itim and a Baal Midos? And if not, what should my mindset be and what should I look out for? Okay, so again, we need to be in alignment. The outside needs to match the inside, right? If we want a really serious Ben Torah, we need to project someone who looks like that, because he is not going to want to walk around with me if I don't look that way. If he's not going to feel comfortable with my tznius, that long-term learner boy is not going to feel comfortable walking around with me. So look in the mirror and ask yourself if you're in alignment. Also be authentic to who you are. So if you feel like you're putting on a show and dressing completely less tzniustic or completely more tzniustic than who you actually are, again, it's the same problem as being on show. So then you're going to get married and you put on this more tzniustic, outfit just because you want on a date with him. And then you get married to him. And then all of a sudden you're dressing like much less tzniustic. And he's like, what's going on? He's going to be very confused and thrown off, right? That doesn't work either. So let's be authentic with who we are. In terms of the learning working. So, I ask everyone's forgiveness about this conversation, and I hope that we can all be on the same page about this. But I want everyone to sit and learn just as much as anyone else does. With that said, I think it's important to understand that we are marrying people and we are marrying human beings, and essentially we are marrying midos and a ben Torah, which may turn out to be 1 to 2 years. It may turn out to be 3 to 5 years. It may turn out to be a long-term learner. But even if all of those came out to be exactly that I expected, I really, really hope that I'm marrying him for the real authentic qualities that we bring out in each other, that we are compatible with each other, that he treats me in a healthy, appropriate, respectful manner, that I want to be in this person's company. The amount of singles that call me and tell me that they were raised in loveless marriages. I cannot even describe to you how many. Yeah, my parents, whatever. I mean, like, I don't think they really like each other very much, but whatever, it kind of works. It's like a business relationship. This is how they describe their parents' marriage. Okay. It's very sad to me, very, very sad to me. And I really hope that we can try to avoid that by not papers don't get married. I never went to a wedding where I saw 2 papers getting married. People get married. Yes, papers are a great place to start. We have similar goals and values. We came from similar backgrounds. We want similar things in the future. Those are all great. But who is this person? Do I want to be around them? Do I like who I am when I'm with them? Do I enjoy my company? Do I sit and look at the clock waiting for it to, to the next 5 minutes to go by because I'm so bored? Or do I look forward to going out? I need to like this person. I need to really like them. I do not have to be crazy infatuated with them. That could be unhealthy, but I do need to like them. And what I tell people is instead of worrying about the amount of years, worry about the human being. Is this person the kind of human being that I would want to be with? Because it's going to be a lot longer than 10 years or 3 years or 5 years. So I hope that we could I'm not minimizing learning, chas v'shalom. I hope that we can bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu along with us on this journey and say, I want to marry a ben Torah who I like, I respect, I am compatible with. And I am open. Maybe he'll learn 1 or 2 years. And you know what? If it's going well, there are a lot of couples who all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's learning 5 years. He didn't expect that because it was going well. We just don't know where things are going to go. So let's focus on the really important qualities that are most crucial. I'm saddened that people feel pressured by papers because even though the papers work out, the marriages also need to work out a lot better than the papers. So let's stay focused on that. And there was a chat over here. Okay, I think we answered the tznius one. There was one about hurtful comments from people around us. So I recommend that people develop a very strong coat of Teflon. Okay. Teflon is the coating of your frying pan. And sometimes you just got to let it slide off. Okay. Because you know who you are, you know your worth, you know your value. Your family knows who you are. And if you have a family that doesn't support that, that is very sad. But I'm sure that you will have many people in your life, friends, family, mentors, representatives that can support you, right? Let's not take every hurtful comment to heart and let it destroy us. Because if your sense of confidence and your self-worth is not able to handle a negative comment, trust me, it's not going away even after you get married. Oh, no, you expecting, oh, you only have 2. When's number 3 coming? It doesn't end. Okay. It doesn't stop. So, I just recommend knowing who you are, being able to embrace your own confidence, your own self-worth, and everything else, just let it fall away. If I could write a book alone about the negative comments that I received when I was single. Just to name a few, just so people don't believe me. People walked into my Vart literally saying, we totally never expected you to get married, like ever. what is that? I'm already engaged. Like, so I said, so glad Akash Baruch Hu thought differently, Baruch Hashem, right? Or let's say I'm having a debate about some political thing going on in Eretz Yisrael, and a relative would say, or a family or a friend, or they would say, when you have a ring on your finger, then I'll hear what you have to say. I mean, nothing to do with dating, right? So the belittling comments that people make, honestly, from society is very uncomfortable with singles. They don't know what to do with singles because it doesn't really fit. You're supposed to be married. You're supposed to have a home. You're supposed to be in a box, in a place that fits. And yes, we want everyone to have that. But in the meantime, you have worth, you are valuable, you are intelligent, you are capable, and there are things that you can do now that you will not be able to do when you are married. And I suggest that you get busy doing them. A, it will distract you from the pain. B, it will build your self-confidence of who you are and what you have to offer. C, you'll have great things to talk about on dates. D, you know what? You know where my shidduch came from? It came from Kiruv connections, because I threw myself into Kiruv. So then a big Makar was like, I have great ideas for you. Here's the shidduch. So you don't realize the thing that you throw yourself into might be where your shidduch comes from. So we just don't know. Focus on developing yourself, keeping your head focused on the goal, which is find that right person. Ignore all the negative comments, all the static, all the things that have no relevance to anything that you are or that you're trying to accomplish, and move forward. And if something doesn't work out, it's okay. You move forward. You move forward, and you're going to be okay. It's going to happen for you. So I tried to be a living example of this. I did go through this. My husband was number 220. So it's not like I didn't do any dating. Okay. So I am here if anyone needs. You could reach me at dategreat.com, D8GR8.com, or Rachel at dategreat.com. You can Google my name. You can listen to podcasts, watch articles, watch videos, whatever you like. This is a deep, deep passion of mine to help singles get to a good place, to find that right person. It's not as much, as I said, about finding that right person as it is being that right person so that you can attract what you're looking for. And I so badly want that. I always tell my husband, for Hanukkah, I just want a big treasure chest of great guys and just hand one out to every single girl. Like, that's what I want. But, unfortunately, it doesn't work exactly like that. And I'm always here if anyone needs. This has been such an honor and such a pleasure. Thank you, Esther, for all your hard work organizing.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really just want to give you a big round of applause. I know we have a lot of muted participants, but I'm sure every single one of them appreciated listening to you, and you're very wise, ethos and everything, and just the positivity was really, really appreciated. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a beautiful Shabbos, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everybody. Sure. Thank you all for coming on.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Really wishing everyone a beautiful Shabbos. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.